right. Okay, so hi everyone. Welcome to the Tech Talent Accelerators Explore Tech seminar. Today's event is going to be focused on the growth mindset, how to get out of your way and harness your true potential by Cynthia here from HP. So just as a housekeeping rule, I just want to indicate to all the participants, kindly please keep your mics and your videos muted and off. Any questions you have during the session, you can place them in the chat function. During the Q&A period, if you'd like to speak out your questions, you can, when I name you, you would need to raise your hand. There's an emoticon in Zoom that you can raise your hand, or you can leave a message in the chat function to say you wanna ask your question through audio, and then I can unmute you to do that. And you can even turn on your video at that point if you'd like to do that. All right, so just to introduce myself, my name is Mohammed Adnan Syed. I'm the director of the Talent Accelerators program. I'm also the manager for research for the Faculty of Science at Ryerson University. So the Tech Talent Accelerator program is a partnership between CompTIA, which is the largest IT tech industry association in the world, Ryerson University, and we're also funded by the provincial government through a grant that we received. So just want to start with the land acknowledgement. Toronto is in the dish with one spoon territory. The dish with one spoon is a treaty between the Anishinaabe, Mississaugas, and Haudenosaunee that bound them to share the territory and protect the land. Subsequent Indigenous nations and peoples, Europeans, and all newcomers have been invited into this treaty in the spirit of peace, friendship, and respect. So with that, I just want to start by maybe asking you, the participants, one question is the students that are joining us. If you can please, in your chat function, indicate what program are you in, and also what year are you in your program. If you can please put that in the chat function for us, I would appreciate it. So in terms of the agenda, I will go over briefly about what the Tech Talent Accelerator is, and then we'll get right into the seminar with Cynthia, and then we'll have a Q&A period at the end. And after the Q&A period, we'll announce the winners of the Uber Eats contest that HP is sponsored as well. So let's get going. So the Tech Talent Accelerator program, so as you can see from the schematic and the slide you see there, we are a training program. Our goal is to launch the next generation of industry-ready talent, specifically for the Canadian IT tech sector. We're doing this with these two red bubbles that you see. So our seminar today is part of our red bubble that says ExploreTech. So the idea here is on a regular basis, we want to give you, the students, exposure to what the IT tech industry is about. And we do this by hosting such seminars on a regular basis. They'll happen at least once a month, if not more than one time per month. And then also, just as a heads up to the participants, we are going to be hosting our first hackathon. It's going to be called Hack Tech. It will start on February 22nd and it will end on March 12th. It will be a 3-week innovation program that we'll do with you. Please look out for emails from us to register for that hackathon. So again, the idea with the hackathon as well is that we want you to interact with the industry and work on an innovation challenge and come up and propose a solution back to industry for that industry challenge. On the experience tech side, so as you can see, this is, so while the ExploreTech is open to anybody at the university, the experience tech program is meant for final year students. So once you're in your final year, you would be eligible to apply to our call for applications. And once you get into the program through us, we put you through a bit of industry ready training through our program. So we have our own modules, and then with our partnership with CompTIA, we're able to give you access to one certification course plus one exam through that partnership in kind, so at no cost to the student. And then we help you line up a job shadow and internship with an industry partner. So again, the essence of our program, as you see at the bottom of the slide, is you all are in your programs in disciplines. Universities are structured like disciplines. and we're working with you, and we want to transition you into specifically the Canadian IT tech industry through our program. So I just want to recognize our advisory board. A number of them actually have joined or are on this meeting as well. So I just want to thank all of them for joining and kind of providing the support that they have. The program that I just presented to you has been designed by this group, and the content of our training also has been informed by or designed actually by them specifically in putting the training content together as well. So I just want to recognize and thank them for all their efforts. So with that, I'd like to not take up more of your time. I'd like to pass it on to Cynthia. So Cynthia will talk to you about the growth mindset, how to get out of your way and harness your true potential. Cynthia is the Solutions Delivery Executive at HP, and she will introduce herself further in her presentation. Thank you for doing this with us, Cynthia, and I will now unshare my screen, and then you can get set up to get.
Terrific.
Awesome.
Thank you. Thank you very much for the opportunity. This is fantastic. I hope you guys enjoy this. Let me just share my screen.
Please.
Thank you. And please let me know when you can see it.
Yes.
Terrific. Full screen.
Full screen.
Fantastic. Excellent. All righty. Thank you very much for having me. I truly honored. I hope you guys get something out of it. So thank you again for joining this session on growth mindset. HP is currently going through a transformation. This slide deck that I'm going to be sharing with you is something that we did for our interns last summer. And a lot of the components of the deck is something that we are teaching our employees globally as we transform from a fixed mindset to a growth mindset organization. All righty. As Adnan said, my name is Cynthia Mooney. I lead the service delivery team for the Eastern United States and for Canada. I'm located in King City here in just north of Toronto. I will tell you that growth mindset has absolutely helped my career. So it's one of the reasons why I offer to facilitate this session for you, as well as why I am one of the global facilitators for HP as we drive through this message throughout our organization. We should be finished in about 10 to the top of the hour to leave some space for questions. So let's get started. We'll go through this welcome and opening. We'll talk about what is growth mindset, why does growth mindset matter, how to build your growth mindset, and then we'll end it with some questions, your commitment to action, and a final wrap. And I'll also let you know there are resources that'll be available towards the end. I've shared the PDF deck with Jessica, so it'll be posted wherever it's going to be posted afterwards. So you'll have a copy of it. We'll talk a little bit about just getting you into that optimal view. So you want to be able to actively participate. We're going to be participating through chat, through typing chat, not live chat. So you want to exit your full screen mode. You want to make sure your participations panel is open and open up your chat. Okay. So how many of you would say that you can draw? Before we get started, I'm going to ask you just to grab a piece of paper and a pen. And I know those of you who say, oh, I can't draw, I don't want to do this. I promise you there's a reason why I'm going to ask you to do this. Okay. So I'm going to assume that you have a piece of paper and a pen or pencil, and let's get started. Do you know that typically in an audience, when you ask that question of can you draw, only about 10 to 15% of people typically say yes. For those of you who don't think you can draw, would you be happy if you could draw something like this? This little exercise we're going to go through is from a TEDx talk out of Hull, Quebec, from a gentleman named Graham Shaw, called Why People Believe They Can't Draw and How to Prove That They Can. Okay, so here we go. Rapid fire drawing. Let's give it a try together. Draw the news. Little loop, low C. Draw the eyes, little sixes above the C. Draw a smiling mouth. Add the ear, another C. backwards C with a line. Add some hair, just little lines. Then draw a line underneath for your chin and a line at the back for the neck. A little collar, it's the C again underneath. Okay, add in a few variations. So we just demonstrated to ourselves that there are many things we think we cannot do, or we've been told that we can't do it, or we think that we're not born with the talent to do so. But when we give it a try, we find that we can in fact do it. And this is an example of moving ourselves from a fixed mindset to a growth mindset. So before we begin, how many of you already know what growth mindset is? Let's use the chat. Just type in, yes, I've heard of it. We've studied it. I know it quite well. Never heard of it before. And I'm watching the chat. There you go. Excellent. No idea. Yes, a bit. I've heard of it. Never heard of it before. I've heard of it. No idea somewhat. Awesome. Okay. This notion of mindset came from the work of Carol Dweck, who's a Stanford professor. She also has a famous TED Talk called The Power of Believing You Can Improve. She studied school children who weren't interested in anything but their mark and kids who gave up on challenging puzzles very, very quickly. Now she brings her studies to the workplace and how these mindsets can affect us at work or at school. So having a fixed mindset means that you believe that talent is innate. You are born with it. Having a growth mindset means you believe that talent can be developed. And it's all about that little three-letter word, yet. Yet activates an area in your brain, the premotor cortex, which gets ready for action by searching for solutions, for ways for you to be able to do it. Okay. What is fixed mindset and how does it sound? It sounds like, I just can't get this. It's just good enough. This is just too hard. I screwed up. I can't make this any better. I give up. I'm just not good at this. I'll never be as smart as X. Our profs never understand us. That's what fixed mindset sounds like. Okay. And wherever you are within your career or at school, these things and being sort of aware will help you. Who loves to make mistakes? I'm sure nobody, if we were all together, none of you would raise your hand. But what happens to our brain when we make a mistake? On the left-hand side of the picture, the green one, fixed mindset, the brain goes quiet. You know, oh gosh, I hope nobody noticed. On the right-hand side of the screen is where the growth mindset is happening. The receptors are all on fire. Lots of circuits are firing. And so, oh, sorry, hang on a second. But you have to prime for growth mindset and activate a different model for accountability. It's not about blaming or living in terror. It's about focusing on finding a fix for the issue and how you're going to be able to solve for it next time. So I want to play this video for you, but before I click play, I want you to see a deeper distinction in how these mindsets are going to show up that impact our behavior. As you watch, I want you to think about learning these two mindsets and how it applies to you. Okay, it's about 3 minutes. I'm going to stop my video so that I'm not fighting my bandwidth. Hold on. Okay.
Through years of work, Dweck and her team have uncovered sort of the defining characteristics of the two mindsets. This table really illustrates the contrast between the two. The first big characteristic we need to talk about is belief. Again, people with this fixed mindset believe that skills are born and therefore they can't or don't have to learn. People with a growth mindset believe that skills are built, therefore they can learn. The second major characteristic is focus. People in a fixed mindset tend to focus on performance and outcomes and results. In other words, their main focus, their main concern becomes how they look, and more specifically, to not look bad. People with a growth mindset tend to focus more on the process of getting better, of learning and growing. These mindsets and these characteristics have a huge influence on our ability to learn, and now we start to see why. Let's look at like the 4 key ingredients to growth: effort, challenges, mistakes, and feedback. The research shows that when somebody is in a fixed mindset, they look at effort as a negative thing, as something that you do when you're not good enough. They also don't see the value or purpose of putting in effort. They've been shown to back down and avoid challenging situations. They get really discouraged and worked up when they make mistakes. And when somebody with a fixed mindset receives feedback from a parent, a teacher, a coach, or a friend, they get defensive, they take it personally, and they don't see the value or purpose of the feedback. So in other words, people with this fixed mindset actually avoid and shy away from these 4 key ingredients to growth. Dweck and her team have shown that when people enter a growth mindset, they look at effort as a useful thing, as an important part of the learning process. They're actually more likely to embrace challenges and persevere and work through them. They see mistakes as learning opportunities, and when they receive feedback, they actually appreciate it and use it. Now, the fascinating and important part of this table is to connect the dots between these key characteristics of the 2 mindsets and our actions and behaviors towards learning. Let's look at the fixed mindset side first. They actually shy away from putting in effort because they don't believe that they can change. They give up when they're met with a challenge and things get hard because they don't want to look bad. So in their mind, the challenge becomes a threat, and because they don't believe that they can change. They hate making mistakes and are discouraged by mistakes because if you're making mistakes, you're not looking good. And they don't see the value or purpose of feedback because they don't believe in their capacity to grow. So in one way or the other, every single one of these actions is a byproduct of these characteristics. And the same is true on the growth mindset side. They see the value and purpose of effort because they believe in their capacity to grow. They're more likely to take on a challenge and persevere through it because they believe that they can grow and because they're focused on the opportunity to do that. So they frame a challenge as an opportunity to get better. And by focusing on the process and believing in their capacity to grow, they're more likely to understand how important mistakes are in this process. And when they receive feedback from a parent, teacher, coach, or friend, they're more receptive to this because their focus is on getting better and because they believe that that information can help them grow and they have the capacity to do so.
Thoughts in the chat. What do you think? Let me turn my video back on. Makes very reflective. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Get you thinking. Okay, let's keep going. So let's look at a contrast between fixed and growth. These are indicators to which mindset are operating from. And it's important to note that we all operated from both mindsets on different things. Interestingly, oops, sorry, I don't think I've turned my video back on. There we go. Interestingly, Carol Dweck freely admits to having a fixed mindset all through her university years. Which courses did she take? The ones she knew she could excel at. So in understanding the growth mindset and the mindset, fixed mindset is I'm either good or not. Growth mindset is I can get better. Fixed is born smart. Growth mindset is born to learn. Proving versus improving yourself. Demonstrating your skills versus developing your skills. Performing better than others versus performing better than you did before. Feedback is a threat. Oh, sorry. Feedback is a threat versus performing better. Oh, I'm sorry. Feedback helps me learn. And then stretch goals are bad versus stretch goals are good. Okay. Have you ever, do not type in the chat. Have you ever found yourself taking a course for the easy A? It's just a personal awareness. Okay, no shaming, just building awareness. All righty, let's review a little bit more. In that fixed mindset, you're focusing on your smarts, proving, trying to outperform others, feeling threatened by feedback. In a growth mindset, you're learning, you're improving, you're developing, you're seeking feedback, and you're taking on those stretch goals. Let's talk a little bit about eustress. This comes down to how we approach the challenges and mistakes and whether we see them as a threat or as a challenge. Growth mindset allows us to experience changes and looks at them as a challenge, which leads us to eustress. Eustress is the good stress, healthy stress, the feeling of excitement and anticipation, the feeling of fulfillment or other positive things, a process of exploring potential gains. So last question. How well do you understand the concept of growth mindset? Just type in the chat. I totally get it. I understand it. I'm working on it. I still have some questions. Okay, let's see what we're saying in the chat. I understand it. I'm getting it. I still have some questions. Working on it. Okay, perfect. If you're not quite there, that's okay. We've got more to build on this topic, and why it matters may help. So why should we all, whether we're students looking for employment or in a small business or working for a big company, be interested in embracing growth mindset? Let me load this slide up a little bit. There we go. Prior to separation, HP employees described their desired culture for collaboration, innovation, fun, less bureaucracy, and cool products. We did external research and benchmarks and identified growth mindset as a mechanism to unleash a higher level of performance. And we really leaned on Carol Dweck and her learnings. We determined growth mindset could create conditions where employees continuously develop, fail and learn, and try new approaches more regularly, leading towards innovation. So the growth mindset objectives for our organization is creating a culture of risk-taking and ongoing learning to continuously innovate, removing processes and obstacles that inhibit continuous development. So we removed performance ratings, old style of learning, and we developed leaders to create conditions for growth mindset, risk-taking, and learning within their teams. There are four main things that we looked at within growth mindset. And one of the major focuses that we had was, especially around accelerated with the pandemic, is digital transformation. HP is particularly focused on these behaviors, four of them. First one being agility. It's the ability to shift your focus to quickly what matters most. It means avoiding being in a fixed mindset that says there's only one way to solve the problem. Curiosity means having a fundamental openness to questions. Why are we doing it this way? What would happen if we tried something else? Experimentation is a willingness to try new things, new ways of doing things. It's an openness to having your assumptions challenged by the results, whether they're good or bad. Risk-taking means embracing the unknown within acceptable limits in the hope of finding a better way, along with the determination to learn from the results, again, whether successful or not. So these behaviors may not be a strength of yours yet. See what I did there? But which of these needs to be developed for you? Type in the chat, please. Do you think it's curiosity? Do you need to work on experimentation, agility, risk-taking? Thoughts in the chat? Risk-taking, experimentation, yeah, curiosity, risk-taking, yeah. Risk-taking is a hard one because, oh, what if you make a mistake? You know what? Fail fast, learn, do it again. It's hard, it's hard. All righty. Benefits of a growth mindset. All of these build off of each other, right? And the one that we look at, especially whenever you're within your career, is looking at resilience. Why does resilience matter? The world is ever changing, as you guys know, and you're going to experience much of that today and throughout your career. You're going to need to be able to adapt quickly. You're going to need to be able to embrace a different direction than you might have anticipated. Being resilient and being able to fight that and have that persistence is what's going to be able to help you. All righty. How do you think building a growth mindset can help you? Just spitball. There's no silly answers. What are you thinking? In the chat, please. Okay, so a couple of things. Getting higher. Okay, good. Confidence. Yeah. Help you challenge yourself more. Absolutely. Be kinder to yourself. Totally. Also, getting hired, staying employed, having more options, lifelong learning, more enjoyment and engagement, right? All of these things is what helps you have when you're having a growth mindset. Leadership, absolutely. Ability to evolve or adapt. Thank you. Okay. So now we want to know, now we know what growth mindset is, hopefully, and why we want it, but how do we build it? We went through this exercise, right? Let me just let this load up. So we want to be able to try something new, take a risk, be innovative, make it a challenge, break the tasks into smaller steps, finding ways or others who can help, maybe mentors or colleagues, focus on progress over time, focus on the learning as well as the results, and using the word yet. So I was never great at math in high school. Oh my gosh, I never born, not born with knowing math. Well, my sister was awesome at math. I was horrible at math. But in business, I had to get more and more comfortable with it. So I remember I had a new role, and understanding the P&L of a product line seemed like very advanced math for me. And I had super long days just going over these Excel spreadsheets, and I just couldn't absorb it because I was stuck in a fixed mindset, that I'm horrible at math, or, I wasn't born with math skills, P&L, a profit and loss. Thank you. So I happened to attend a leadership session, nothing to do with math, and heard the concept of and yet. And it was just such an awakening for me. Or in scientific terms, it was my premotor cortex was fired and ready for solutions. So on the P&L challenge, I ended up reaching out for help, right? Because now I'm like, you know what? I'm not worried about looking bad. Let's just open up and figure out how we can sort this out. I reached out to our finance leader and spent hours with her. And she was very, very patient with me, just trying to understand the concept. And then after I actually got it, I realized that not a lot of other people really understood the methodology around our profit and loss for our product lines. And so I ended up appealing to my senior leadership and saying, hey, I was challenged with this. And I realized that not a lot of other people get it as well. So I pitched to them sort of a summer lunch and learn series on our finances, and was able to get some guest speakers. I taught some sessions myself. And the reason why I'm telling you this is because I alluded to at the beginning, how growth mindset has absolutely helped me. Once you get that little word yet, or I'm not good at math, and so what? What are you going to do to try to fix it? So, so as you saw in our opening activity, along with drawing, there are lots of ways to move from a fixed to a growth mindset. Okay. Again, watch your language from I'm not good at this to what might I learn by trying. this is too hard to this may take some time and effort. Remember, Thomas Edison discovered 1,000 different ways not to invent the light bulb. I made a mistake. Mistakes help me learn. I'll never be as smart as so-and-so, or I'm going to try and do what so-and-so does, or ask for help. I give up to I'm going to try a different approach, or I don't know to I don't know yet. Let me share something else with you. This is all around metacognition, which is noticing your thinking. It's about catching yourself in a negative, disempowered, fixed mindset thinking and being able to shift your thinking, noticing that it's not helpful, and then make a conscious decision to shift your thinking. It's about pausing and slowing down your thinking long enough to notice it. This could be recognizing an error, realizing it's done, and then moving on to what you can do within the next moment to be able to sort out a new plan, or it could be in the middle of a problem, calmly collecting yourself and being able to find a solution. My husband and I celebrated our 25th wedding anniversary in the summer of 2019. You guys don't know me. I am a planner. I booked our plane tickets in January. I booked our hotels in March. I booked our train tickets and excursions in April. Those of you who obviously you're at Ryerson, but you know the major highways in and out of the city. I live north of the city and my main highway is the 400. That's the way we would get to the airport. When the weekend that we left, it was the August long weekend. And we arranged for my brother-in-law to take us to the airport. So as we're heading southbound on the 400, I'm apologizing to my brother-in-law in advance. I'm so sorry. Look at the congestion going back northbound. He said, you know, don't worry about it, Cynthia. So we were able to get to the airport. Thank you so much, John. Headed with my husband to the ticket counter. We get there. I pull out my husband's passport and I realize my passport's on the printer, my HP printer at home. I cannot tell you at that very moment of, oh my gosh, I cannot believe that you have forgotten your passport. What a rookie move is this? You travel for work all the time. You've got your carry-on luggage down to an art. You have to book this you've done all of this prep planning before and you've left your passport at home. Oh my gosh, I actually left the ticket counter, went into like a little cubby at Terminal 3 and like started to cry and going through all of this stuff in your brain of like, oh, I can't believe this. You're like so stupid. This is just insane. At that very moment, it was like, okay, this is not helpful. Pause. How are you going to solve this? Crying in a corner is not going to solve this problem. Okay, let's call John. How close are you to home? Go back to the ticket counter. What are our options? Should we check our luggage? Should my husband go through? When's the next flight? How much time do I have before I can possibly get my passport back here? Look, I have a lovely printed copy of it. And so when you start sort of stepping through those, you're starting to look at yourself in the third person, examine your thinking, and making a conscious decision to shift to solutioning. Happy to report, my brother-in-law met my sister-in-law at the, my sister-in-law went to the house. She met him at the 400 and Aurora Road exit. He traveled south, made it to the airport in time. We were able to make our flight and had a lovely time in Italy. Highly recommend it. But this story is not a, oh my gosh, what a sad story. This story is notice the pause, right? Notice that language that is not serving you at all, pausing for a moment, and then coming up with solutions. Think of high performance athletes, right? When they're a tennis match or golf. If you make a bad shot or you do have a bad serve, you got to shake that off. You're in this to compete and win this game or win this tournament. It's within anything, whether it's business, sports, you guys at school, you have to be able to train your mind to get off of that treadmill of negative thoughts and come up with solutions. Yeah, absolutely. Meditation really helps with this too. Okay. I'm going to get this to load up a little bit. There are two things I want you to take away from this concept that we're going to talk about. It's SCARF. Depending on the situation, you may find yourself in each of these states, and the way you react is your choice to adjust from a fixed mindset to a growth mindset. And the second thing is, one of these domains will resonate for you more than any other, okay? The SCARF model includes 5 domains of human social experience. These 5 domains activate either the primary reward or primary threat circuitry of the brain. A perceived increase in threat in any of these areas activates the threat circuitry of your brain and can feel like a threat to your life. At least your brain sees it that way. Though your life is not in danger, being in a threat state can negatively impact your mindset, pulling you into a fixed mindset. In the same way, a perceived increase in one of these 5 domains activates the reward circuitry of the brain and can feel as good as receiving a monetary reward, looking at pictures of loved ones, or any sort of physical reward. Knowing what can cause a threat response enables us to create interactions to minimize threats. Conversely, knowing about drivers that can activate a reward response enables us to feel motivated to learn, to try something new, try again after failure, or in other words, move into a growth mindset. So let's step through. Status. Status is about wanting to feel valued, esteemed. The reward message is, I am valuable and valued. Certainty is the ability to predict outcomes, knowing where you stand, right? In this world that we live in, where maybe a lot of you are still doing distance learning. Obviously, we're all within a lockdown here in the province of Ontario through February 19th. We want to know, when is life going to get back to normal? If certainty resonates with you, you're having a really hard time because you're not able to predict the outcome. Autonomy is a sense of control, wanting to be able to do your own thing. And the reward message is, I have a choice. Relatedness is in the group or out of the group. The reward message is, I belong. And fairness is about perception of fair exchange. It's about wanting things to go relatively impartially. And the reward message is, I am treated fairly and with respect. So in the chat, please type, which of these threat domains has caused you to go into or stay in a fixed mindset? Is it status? Is it certainty? Is it autonomy, where you don't feel you have a choice and you're being told to do things all the time? Relatedness, not feeling connected? Fairness? Yeah. Certainty, relatedness. Yeah. Status, yeah. Relatedness, certainty. Yeah, relatedness resonates for me the most. I had a boss once where I never felt connected to him. He always started our conversations with like business right off the bat. Never asked, how was your weekend? How are you doing? What's happening? And because of that, I never felt that I could quite trust him. But from a fixed growth mindset, you know what, Cynthia, it's not about you. Let's just move on. He's not your friend. This is business. So you got to you just have to be aware and be able to adjust. Okay. I'm not going to read this slide. I'm going to let you guys read it. But let me say this. You can help others shift out of fixed mindset by asking these questions about the problem or sharing your thinking. In other words, not telling people what to do, right? Not being the answer bank. It's best to ask questions about a solution and let others do the thinking. But before we begin, when we're trying to coach ourselves from a fixed mindset to a growth mindset, one of the things to determine is whether we are motivated to make a change. We might not be, because it's not something that interests us, or it's not a priority right now or ever. We are in an overwhelmed state, right? Cognitive overload state. Our brain is full. You guys experience that all the time, I'm sure. These are all legitimate reasons and do not indicate that you're in a fixed mindset. So 2 of the mistakes that people make around growth mindset is, 1, growth mindset is unbounded, meaning, you know what? Everyone can be an opera singer. That's not necessarily so. You might be a better singer by practicing, but not everybody has the talent of being an opera singer. And 2 is having a positive can-do attitude, no matter what the situation is. That's not growth mindset either. Okay. But however, if you're in a fixed mindset and you suspect it's related to any of the barriers that we talked about, thinking, the SCARF model that we just introduced, or fear, these questions will help you shift by stimulating the brain to get curious, to engage in thinking about solutions. Okay, so you'll have this in your little worksheet, or it's in the presentation, so you can grab this and print it and have it at your desk. So in summary, we've talked about the definition of growth mindset, why it's important, and finally, how we can build and strengthen it in ourselves. All of that is lovely. However, now that we know what growth mindset is and how we want it, what can we do to ensure that you are building it within yourself? What will you do? And this is your commitment to action, because the evidence of knowing is doing, meaning no one cares about what you know or what you say you know. They want to see you doing it. You need to see yourself doing it. So you want to make sure you keep looking for opportunities to take risks, embracing failures as a way to learn and keep innovating. I have this fantastic career in one of the world's largest and most successful companies. And I know I would not be here if I wasn't willing to keep learning, keep trying new things, keep taking risks. So I'm going to ask you, and we've got, how many folks have we got on the chat? Hang on, lots. I think it was 35 when I last checked, 38. I want 38 responses. What's the one thing you can commit to doing as a result of what you've learned today? Don't be shy. No wrong answers. Take more risks. Yes. Looking at challenges as opportunities to learn. Yes. Try, and if there's a chance I'll fail. Yes. Be more positive. Yet. Oh, absolutely. Be more positive. Be more positive. How I describe myself and my actions. Absolutely. Watch my language. Use of yet and. Yes. Analyze trends and act accordingly. Totally. Well done. Yes. Well done. Good stuff, guys and gals. All righty. I'm super close to time and I want to make sure I leave time for questions. So I'm going to leave you with 2 things before we leave. Key learnings around professional skills, personal branding, and growth mindset. Understand which of your professional skills needs developing and make a plan. Be authentic in how you're introducing yourself, your biggest advocate. Use your own voice. Talk about your work, passions, and goals. Consistency is key. Be present online. Update your profile regularly. Nurture your relationships, right? Networking is basically a second job. You have to get out there and be seen. It's not about who you know, it's about who knows you. Growth mindset is about believing you can improve and leveraging the power of yet. And I'll leave you with this last one. This is from Travis Bradbury, who wrote 8 things that truly set confident people apart. Confident people tend to challenge themselves and compete, even when their efforts yield very small victories. Small victories build new receptors in the areas of your brain responsible for reward and motivation. This increase in androgen receptors increases the influence of testosterone, which further increases your confidence and your eagerness to tackle future challenges. When you have a series of small victories, the boost to your confidence can last for months. As promised, you've got a couple of, actually 10, not a couple, of items in terms of resources. I also have the link there for the video that we shared, the mindset characteristic video. And then I will stop sharing so that you can show your slide there, Adnan.
Thank you so much, Cynthia.
You're most welcome.
We appreciate it. So just in the effort of recognizing you through Zoom, there is an emoticon for clap. So I will do that on my end, and I request the participants to do that as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thumbs up to you guys.
That is a very kind of refreshing presentation that we got to hear. So just give me a sec. I'm going to just show a screen so we know how to address questions and things like that. All right. So, so just in terms of looking at questions from the audience, I did want to point out the process that we will use. Sorry, I'm just opening up the panel that I can then see. All right, so in terms of a question, in terms of questions, well, you can do two approaches. You could submit a question in the Zoom chat function, and I can read it out for you. And then, or you can raise your hand again, just like some of you may have shown the clap piece in as an emoticon. There's a way to raise your hand, and I can unmute you. And if you'd like, you can turn on your video as well, and you can ask your question directly from Cynthia. This is to Cynthia. All right. So I'll start with Ahmed. It seems he's raised his hand. So I'm gonna ask you to unmute Ahmed, and if you'd like to show your video, you can. You don't have to, and please go ahead with your question.
Good afternoon, Cynthia. Thank you for this wonderful presentation. I do have a question. I started 2021 with this idea that for the next 12 months, I'm gonna be doing one habit for each month. And so far, I have the 12 habits in order, and started the first one, and I'm almost done it. But there's this resistance that the longer you go with it, the less motivated you become. That consistency that is there to get you out of bed when there is nothing to do is very, very difficult, especially in the times that we live in right now. It's very hard to kind of get out of bed, even though sometimes you have stuff that you must show up for. How do you address that to like always show up, always be there mentality when things might seem like they're not going anywhere?
I would set short-term goals. So I love the planning, but you have to live each day presently where we are, right? You have to live today where we are. So it's not about, beating yourself up on, I didn't get out of bed and I've got this, goal for the next 12 months and I didn't do it, this one moment. Just take your moments one at a time, right? And each one will build and stack on top and you'll get to your goal. But it starts in that moment. Don't live so much in the future. Live a little bit in the present and don't beat yourself up.
Thank you for that. Wonderful.
You're welcome.
All right. So we have a question in the chat function. This is from Michael. How do you know if you're lying to yourself or if you actually have a chance to be the opera singer, as you referenced?
I love that question. Thank you, Michael. Before you know that you're lying to yourself, why not try? Try and see, right? Before you judge whether you can or you cannot, try first and practice. And if you want to be that opera singer, as an example, and you go for lessons and you try, and you're going to get better, but at some point someone's going to tell you whether yes, you have exactly what we're looking for that role as an opera singer, or you don't. But when thinking about a fixed mindset versus growth, it's really about trying and it's really about improving.
Awesome. Thank you for that, Cynthia. So again, just pointing out, if you'd like to ask a question yourself, you can raise your hand, or you could leave a question in the chat function. We do have a few minutes still. We have about 3-4 minutes if you'd like to ask more questions from Cynthia. We do have one. So this is how do we differentiate between fear and being practical? There are moments I want to go for something, but I feel the weight of the world with everything going on in life.
Yeah. We all feel that at one time or another, absolutely. Um, I will say this, on I was interviewing some executives, and we were talking about career growth and fear and things like that. And one of the things she said was, on the other side of fear is opportunity. So there is that fear, yes, and a lot of it for us nowadays is all around social fear. Um, but it's not going, I promise you, it's not going to kill you. It won't. Go for it. And the more that you push yourself through the fear towards an opportunity, doesn't matter what you got on the other end, whether you got it or didn't get it, whatever it may be, it's that you are training yourself to go over the fear and into opportunity. And once you can train yourself to consistently do that, that is a great skill set to have, because what'll end up happening is jobs that you have out there that you want to apply for, and maybe you haven't ticked off every box. If you get over that fear, you're going to go and apply for that job, and you can sell yourself during it. You may or may not win it. That's not the purpose of this. It's about testing yourself and constantly building that skill set to not be afraid. Because if you fail, that's okay, you learned. But if you never try, you'll never know.
And I think, I mean, just to kind of add to that, so, there's that feedback loop, right? So it's important not to build the feedback loop in your own mind. You have to actually go do it, experiment with it, and then kind of assess the feedback before you think about, do you want to go further? Do you want to pause? What you want to do? So you have to take those actions, as I think about it, at least. So there's another question. So this is one
Sure.
about LinkedIn, Cynthia. So you mentioned that students should engage on LinkedIn. Can you give examples of how to engage without being intrusive?
I talked about networking, but you're asking about LinkedIn. Let me answer about networking. Networking is all about working with folks that you know and reaching out to them and asking questions, finding out about whatever role they're in or whatever the case may be, right? Throughout LinkedIn, it's a little bit different, right? Because with LinkedIn, you can't just reach out to anybody who's not a contact of yours. I think you can send a note. You may or may not be able to. Dominic, you're going to have to help me with this one in terms of what you can and cannot do on LinkedIn. But I will offer this. You are welcome, Anna Paula, and anyone else to reach out to me, and we will connect on LinkedIn. But I really want you to work more on your network, and within your network, within LinkedIn, look to see who else is connected and see how you can continue to grow and build your network. But it's not just about collecting names. You actually have to set up phone calls, set up Zoom calls, and have video calls so people can see you and you can engage, and just start taking advantage of that. Start pressing yourself, and let's you and I start by connecting together.
Absolutely. And then one other thing, maybe Anna, Paul, I'll suggest also is there is also an effort you could make is something called learning conversations. I've seen this being valuable where you're young talent and you're looking to work in a specific industry, or you really like this job that somebody has in your network. Reach out to them and say, hey, can we have a learning conversation? And what you're doing in a learning conversation is you're not asking for a job. What you're asking is, how did you get there? What was your kind of mindset? What were kind of steps you took to reach that career point that you as new talent are aspiring towards? And I think leaders like Cynthia and others would welcome such conversations where they could kind of share, their lived path of reaching where they have, and what could maybe enable you all to reach the paths you want to take in your careers, is how I'd suggest it.
Absolutely agree. Thank you.
So with that, I just want to thank you, Cynthia. I really appreciate your time. The last thing we'll do is we will announce our social media contest winners. So again, in our the way the social media contest worked was we had in our RSVP form, we asked participants to please share the event in your networks, and based on that, you earned points, and then you had more chances of winning the more you shared through that. So we have two winners for the $25 Uber Eats card sponsored by HP, so through Cynthia. So the winners are Amar Lachman and Francis Okoye. So Amar and Francis, congratulations. The way you would get access to this Uber Eats card is please just email the techtalent@ryerson.ca email to follow up with us, and then we'll pass you the information for Uber Eats through there. Okay, so again, please look out. We will be having an event again in middle of February. We have our next ExploreTech seminar. We will announce it shortly. And we are also going to be hosting our annual hackathon. It's called Hack Tech. So this will be running from February 22nd to March 12th. So please look out for that on our social media as well as through email. If you've attended this event and you've submitted an RSVP form, we will reach out to you once the events are open for you to RSVP there. So I hope you all liked the session, and please welcome, we do welcome feedback. So feel free to write to us in an email and give us any feedback you may have as well. So again, lastly, again, I just want to thank you again, Cynthia. Really appreciate your time here. Thank you for taking the time out for this session with us. And this ends this session. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.